Hello, and welcome back to Monster Hunter D&D. If you don't know what Monster Hunter D&D is, it is an ongoing D&D campaign that I am a part of that takes place in the Monster Hunter universe. If you don't know anything about D&D or Monster Hunter, don't worry. I'll explain everything as it takes place so everyone can understand what is going on. This is episode 3 of the series, so if you want to watch the previous 2 episodes, I will link the playlist here. The session began with everyone waking up. Our morale was shot from the loss of Juan. As we leave, we see a strange vendor in Astera. He seems to be wearing some sort of box, sort of like a hot dog vendor at baseball games. In the box appear to be some rather large eggs. As we approach, he sees us and gestures us over. Well, hello there. Would any of you like a free monster egg? I'm offering one free monster egg to everyone, he says. Everyone decides to take an egg. Vahelexia reaches into the basket and our DM asks me to roll a 1d100 plus animal handling. We all make a joke about how this is the first time animal handling was ever used in D&D as I roll. I rolled a total of 44 and pulled out an egg. It immediately hatches into an Anjanath. An Anjanath is a fire-breathing T-Rex. Eldir goes next. The player playing Eldir rolls a 79. An elder pulls out an egg, and it hatches into a scarred Yongaruga. A Yongaruga is a giant, fire-breathing chicken with a venomous tail. A scarred Yongaruga is a Yongaruga with scars on its body, which in video game logic means it's stronger. Phaline goes next. The player playing Phaline rolls something like a 66 if I remember correctly. Since Phaline wasn't in the last session, as we said, he was off in the woods, so she came back with an egg he found. It hatches into a Celius Queen. A Celius Queen is a giant bug that uses pheromones to control the Celius drones. And Isaiah's player rolled the lowest and got a Tetsu Cobra, which is a giant frog with big fangs. Up next was Farley. As the player playing Farley was getting ready to roll, our DM was talking to us about the monsters on the list. I'm kind of disappointed no one rolled higher than a 90. I put so many cool monsters in those. Kushla Deora, Lunastra, all the really cool Elder Dragons. I just hope no one rolls 100. Are you fucking kidding me? Now, everyone, what do you think the player playing Farley rolled? They rolled a nat 100. This means they didn't even need to add their animal handling skill to get 100. They got it naturally. Everyone lost their minds laughing. Our DM describes as Farley reaches into the box and pulls out an egg. It is hot to the touch. The DM informs us that Farley is holding a Dire Moralis egg. You know, Dire Moralis, as in the big Elder Dragon from the beginning of the campaign. Now, the DM wasn't about to give our party a Dire Moralis right away, but he didn't want to take the egg from Farley. Farley won that egg fair and square, but he still wasn't about to give us a giant black dragon. Instead, Farley got the egg, but it doesn't hatch. Not yet, anyway. Farley puts the egg in a bucket with water and the water starts to boil. He stores the bucket somewhere safe. It should be said that Farley canonically does not know the egg is a Dire Moralis. Not yet, anyway. After that, the party heads up to the canteen to eat. As we are walking up the stairs, something weird begins to happen to the party. Eldir fears his body gets surrounded by wind. He concentrates and finds that he can control the wind and blow massive gusts of it. Farley notices as some of the blue feathers on his wings molt off and are replaced with blood-red feathers. Isaiah feels a weird power envelop his hands. One of his hands is enveloped with red energy, the other with green. Whoa, cool! I wonder what this does, he says as he takes a hand with green energy surrounding it and punches himself in the face. Our DM describes as the green energy disappears right before he hits his face, and that he has to roll a 1d6 for damage. Ow, son of a... Fuck you, God, you bitch. Isaiah says as everyone in our party just watches him scream at the sky. But aside from this, everyone has reached level 3 and have obtained their subclasses. Except for me, because Vahalectry is Druid, so I got mine at level 2 basically. To explain, in D&D, you have your character's class, or sometimes classes, which explains how your character plays. If you're a monk like Isaiah, you've trained in martial arts and fight with your fists. If you're a rogue like Farley, you're sneaky and good at stealth and sneak attacks. If you're a druid like Vahalectria, you learn magic from nature, using it to cast spells as well as wild shape, where you turn into animals and monsters. Now, every class also comes with different subclasses. It's a great way for every class to have diversity. A great way to think of it is that every monk knows martial arts, but they all might know a different fighting style. Like with the druid, some subclasses are about wild shaping and fighting, while others are about controlling animals to fight for you. Most classes get their subclasses at level 3 with a few exceptions, like previously stated druids. As we all eat at the canteen, everyone is trying to show off their new subclass abilities. Elder is shooting gusts of winds out, and Isaiah is punching various things. Vahalectria and Phaline are in a conversation. I can cast a lot of spells now, says Phaline. I could cast spells at level 1, Vahalectria replies. Yeah, but I can cast Frostbite now, she replies. I can also cast Frostbite. I could cast that at level 1, Vahalectria replies. If you don't get the joke, just know, Ranger. As everyone is talking and checking out their new powers, Isaiah is staring at Farley's new wings. That's really pretty, he says. Farley looks over at Isaiah. Did you say something, Isaiah? He asks. Nothing, Isaiah says while looking away, his face blushing. After we all finish eating, we are approached by someone who offers us a quest. We are tasked with finding and hunting down a Astralos. Astralos is a wyvern that covers itself with stone and has a body that resembles a boulder. It buries itself in the ground halfway to disguise itself as a boulder for camouflage. It was apparently causing problems with supply routes. As we start to head to the ancient forest, Isaiah has what he would call a brilliant idea. He takes out the deck of many things and tells the party he wants to draw a card. After we all fail to convince him not to, Farley tells him to at least leave Astera by himself so no one else gets caught up in whatever chaos he unleashes. Isaiah walks past the gate of Astera and continues for a short distance. He's still within eyeshot of the party. He holds the deck with one hand and draws a random card. He pulls out the card. Sinister laughter can be heard. It is loud and sounds like it is far away, but right next to Isaiah at the same time.
Well, well, well. What do we have here? An annoying mortal and his friends, huh? You all look like you would be fun to play with. I can't wait to hear you futilely beg for your worthless lives as you watch as I hunt down your friends, one by one.
The same sinister laughter from before is heard. It slowly grows quieter until it can't be heard again. For context, Isaiah just summoned a high-level devil that is now hunting him and the party. The devil will slowly torment and torture us before killing us, and it can only be stopped if either they or the person who summoned the devil die. Now, this is a high-level devil. We need to be at least level 12 to fight this thing. We're level 3. There is no way we can fight this thing, and that is even if it reveals itself to all of us and doesn't sneak attack any of us. So it appears that the DM is going to have to TP Chaos, and it's all Isaiah's fault. Nope, Isaiah says. He pulls out the card he was holding on to, the one that lets him rewind one moment from history. He grabs his hunting horn and uses the card to strum the strings. As he does, magic starts to pour out of the card as time rewinds. This time, instead of summoning a demon with a card, he pulls out a completely different card. As he does, a massive pile of gems and jewelry with a total value of 50,000 gold falls down at his feet. He picks it all up and walks back into Astera. This is a much better outcome than the one before, Isaiah says. What other outcome? Elder asks. Don't worry about it. At the end of the day, it never happened, Isaiah answers. He takes the gems and jewelry to a vendor where he sells it all. After, we all take off to the ancient forest to begin our quest. When we enter, we notice a tree. The tree appears to be dead and it is covered in a strange purple dust. Cryptodira decides to investigate the dust and touches it. The strange dust rubs off the tree and covers Cryptodira's hand. Our DM tells her to roll a d20. The player playing Cryptodira rolled a 7. You can no longer heal outside of magical means until a long rest, our DM informs them. Are you okay? Farley asks concerned. I feel a little weak, but other than that I'm fine, Cryptodira answers. We head further in the forest and find a strange-looking rock also covered in purple. Now, after seeing what happened to Cryptodira when she touched the purple, what do you think Isaiah does? Does he A. touch the purple on the rock, B. not touch the purple on the rock, or C. dance the Macarena with a Kulu Yaku? If you picked B or C, you would be wrong. This genius, this mastermind, seeing what happened to Cryptodira, wanted to know what would happen if he punched the rock with his fist of harming. The fist that is cloaked in red energy. He rolls a d20 and gets a nat 20. Our DM informs him that he now has advantage on all of his attack rolls until a long rest. I don't know how this worked out for him either. Don't worry. Now, to explain, I'm pretty sure this purple dust is frenzy. It is a strange virus that causes monsters to go crazy. If it infects a human, it can either debuff or buff them depending on the right conditions. As we continue further in, we encounter 8 suspicious-looking boulders. We decide to investigate one of them. Folly touches the boulder, and nothing happens. After we come to the conclusion that this isn't a Basarius, however, we hear a loud roar coming from somewhere else in the forest. We decide to leave where we were and investigate, thinking it might be the Basarius that made the noise. Once we enter the area, we find a bunch of scratches on trees and rocks made by a monster. Said monster, however, is nowhere to be found. We hear a noise come from the area we were just in with all the boulders. We head back there and find that there are now 7 boulders instead of 8. And the one boulder that is missing was right next to the one Farley touched. We have a laugh, and Elder decides to touch another boulder. Nothing happens. Again. However, after he does, something falls out of the sky. Farley picks it up to examine it. It appears to be a green scale. It was at this point when Farley starts to panic. We need to get out of here. We need to go, he keeps repeating. At that point, we heard a loud roar from behind us. Right behind us. As we turn around, we see not a Basarios, but instead a Rathian. A Rathian looks like your classic wyvern. 2 hind legs, 2 wings, a tail, and a head. Instead of being more upright, however, they are lower to the ground. Their tails have venomous spikes that they can spit fireballs. All Rathians are also female, with any male that hatches from their eggs being a Rathalos. They sound intimidating, but actually I find them to be one of the most fun monsters to fight. Upon seeing a Rathian, Farley starts to freak out and panic even further. We can't fight it. We have to get out of here, Farley repeats over and over again, as he has his hands on his head. We then roll for initiative. This fight was a little difficult, seeing as the Rathian was way up in the air, and a lot of us didn't have a weapon with enough range to it. Faline is stuck casting Hunter's Mark to try and help us, Elder, Farley, and Aroace hitting its toes with their weapons. Cryptodeer has an insect glaive, which in the games is a weapon that lets the player launch themselves into the air and mount monsters a lot easier. So she is able to jump up and attack the Rathian with ease. The player playing Valeria and Kelwyn had to leave early, so unfortunately they weren't a part of this battle for long. As for me, Vahalectra had wild shaped into a Zamtrios, the ice landshark monster that we fought in the previous episode. Its attacks have just enough range to hit it. Now let me tell you a little something. Zamtrios has triple digit health. They have a +7 to their attacks and deal a lot of damage with each of them. You might think I'm carrying the team, but you'd be wrong. I missed every one of my attacks. The only damage I did was when I used a breath attack, and it is an attack that requires a saving throw. When that happens, the person, or people, depending on if the attack hits multiple targets, have to roll a saving throw of a certain stat. When I fail, the person or people take full damage and usually take some sort of penalty. On a pass, they take half damage and don't suffer the penalty if there is one. The Rathian passed the saving throw and only took 12 damage. The entire fight, the only thing I did was deal 12 damage. And absorb a tail flip that dealt 32 damage and might have broken Vahalectria's ribs. The entire fight, Farley is just trying to convince everyone that we need to run and we can't take this thing on. At least until the end. Farley's face becomes full of anger. He puts away his bow and takes out his sword. He begins to scream as he jumps into the air. "This is for my brothers!" he shouts as tears run from his eyes. In one fell swoop, he cuts off the Rathian's head. The Rathian falls down and its head rolls away. Farley's knuckles are white from how hard he was gripping his sword. He pants for a few seconds as he shakes. He drops his sword and falls to his knees. He places his hands over his face and begins to sob. The others run over to check up on Farley. Vahalectria de-wild shapes and takes a look at the Rathian's head. He looks over at Farley, still sobbing. "So this is the power of anger," he thinks to himself. A faint smile appears on his face. After Farley calms down, we look over at the suspicious boulders again and notice that there are only 2 left. And we notice a Basarios running away. The 2 left were both the boulders we examined. Somehow, we managed to check the 2 rocks that weren't a Basarios. However, our fight with the Rathian did manage to scare them away and clear the supply path, so we managed to pass the quest, I guess. We return to Astera and we receive our money and head up to the forge to upgrade our gear. Vahalectria is holding his side as we have yet to heal. As we finish upgrading our gear, we hear a commotion. We leave the forge and see everyone staring at the center of the market. We look over the railing, as seeing as the forge is on the 2nd floor, and notice a cloaked figure sitting atop an Astralos. Astralos is another monster that looks like it's a hunched over wyvern like the Rathian, but it is skinnier, black and green colors, and covers itself in lightning instead of using fire or poison. The cloaked figure doesn't say anything, and just sits there in the center of Astera, where it sits for a week, as that is where the session ends. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like as it helps me and this channel out. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below and I will try and answer them in the next video. I hope everybody had a great day. Goodbye.